It's a Saturday session. Again, I think Bitcoin is in a bottoming process, okay? And I think a bottom is developing right now. We may have seen it with the tariff sell-off low after the tariffs were implemented on Mexico and Canada. I told you concessions were immediately going to happen. They did, and we sold off, and then we rebounded back up very same day after that dramatic 6% drop. Ended up closing positive, but I told you, again, Bitcoin was in backtest mode of the bull flag. Everybody told us, no, it's a head and shoulders, and we're all going to die, and Bitcoin is going to go lower. And I told you, again, Bitcoin is in minor wave 4, and it is likely bottomed, and I predicted early January that it was going to go down to a major trend line, which in this key support level, which it did do right here at the January 13th low. And again, we're going to rally ahead of Inauguration Day, which is in fact what happened. On the bottom that day, we hit the trend line I told you we are going to go back to on the linear scaling. Right now, we're forming a bullish falling wedge. And again, I think there's probably going to be a little bit more volatility. Then I think we're going to bottom. What could give us more volatility? Well, tensions in the Middle East, geopolitical issues are happening. Could rattle Bitcoin in the markets just a little bit more. But like I said, I believe Bitcoin's in a bottoming process right now. I think we're going to go back up, and I think we're going to take out this 109,000 area. I think we're going to take out the 108,000 peak over here, the resistance zone, and I think you're going to clear that level, and I think you're going to go much higher. Pointed out that we have the Bitcoin outflows in place with the Bitcoin ETFs. What you see when bottoms are developing, flows are when the tops are developing. That's the way it's been working out anyways. Here's an issue that could rattle markets over the weekend or on into next week. We're going to have President's Day. The stock market will be closed on Monday for President's Day. We'll have a short trading week. Bitcoin never closes. It'll be interesting to see if it goes down just a little bit further to better define that bullish falling wedge that I'm looking at that I just showed you. And I'm going to be expounding on more on that in just a little bit. But we had President Trump put a deadline. You know, Israel and Hamas came to this agreement that they would release all the hostages, and they're playing games and not doing it. Releasing them, you know, at a time. Here it's Saturday. The president and the prime minister of Israel, this isn't what you agreed to. They've been releasing them in little dribs and drabs, just a few people at a time. President Trump said, hey, you release them all by Saturday at noon, or all hell's going to break loose. That's what he said. These are the games that they played with the Biden administration. The deadline just now passed. It's come and gone. They did release 3 more hostages, I believe. I believe it was 3. Here, according to the Jerusalem Post and other news outlets, President Trump has said on Saturday that Hamas failed to release all the hostages by 12 noon. Deadline that was imposed. Now the president is saying, now that that hasn't happened, he did announce that 3 more hostages were released. Yes, it was 3 here, according to the article. 3 more hostages were released, including an American citizen, but they failed to release all the hostages. Trump is saying they're going to back whatever Israel decides to do. Right now, the Israeli leadership is meeting, deciding what to do. This could create some more volatility. And now, whether it's this geopolitical issue that creates some volatility or whether it's another issue, I think Bitcoin's going to have a little bit more volatility and then bottom out. That's what I think is likely the case. Then I think it's going to go much higher till we get an inflation freakout. If this is a catalyst here, maybe, or whether it's something else, we'll see. I think Bitcoin's in that bottoming process right now. Markets tend to bottom. Bad news, and I think we're seeing that with the stock market this week. Talked about the different months. This, if we go back in history, this is not going to always be this way. If you could look back in history, it's different, okay? But in recent history, we've seen from January to March, which we're in over here, you can see we see some volatility here in January and more volatility here in February. And again, that's what we've seen before. We've saw some volatility in January, February, but we tend to move towards the end of this quarter from January to March that it tends to be up for Bitcoin. And here it is. We had some volatility, and then we had this big surge. Here we had a surge, had some volatility, and continued to rally. So again, we ended up towards the end of March going into April, and then we sold off. We sold off in April in recent history here, April to September, here, April to September, after peaking in March. We peaked in April and then actually tested that level in the summer, went a little bit higher, but again, it's this sideways movement really rather than trending. All I'm saying is, could we see something similar to what we had here or over here? Could we? I think that's very possible, but then I think we're going to see probably some kind of sell-off April. Now, the new tariffs come into play by April 1st. That's a date being given. It may take them longer. It may be that it takes them a couple of months. Here we are in mid-February. Maybe by mid-April, they're not done with this by mid-April. But if it's about 6 weeks from now, it could be by April 1st. So again, I think we rally into the tariffs, the new tariffs being implemented probably in early April sometime, maybe by April 1st. Bitcoin completes a blow off top over the next 4 to 8 weeks or so. I think we get the inflation freak out. The inflation data will continue to rise, and we're going to have 2 more batches of CPI data. We're going to get another report on March 12th, and then another report on April 10th. And it could be going into that April 10th date. We get the tariffs and we get the CPI soaring, starting to soar back up, get an inflation freak out. And again, supply is increasing. So I know inflation reports are going to rise. CPI through 3%, the M2 money supply is at, on a annualized basis, is 3.9%, near 4% right now. It's not the tariffs doing that. All I'm saying is, hey, historically, in recent history, we could see something where we bottom out and we begin to turn back up, moving towards a trend line on the weekly chart that I've been talking about. It's rallied back up to the 20-period moving average, but it's stalling there. We're hitting some resistance. Again, here's our support zone. This is the tariff sell-off low. Tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and here is the January low, and again, that's our support zone. I think we're forming a bullish falling wedge. I think we come back to test this low into the support zone here or just above it, and I think you're going to bottom out. Watch this video. See some really key support levels, both the daily and the weekly chart, but this is where I think we're headed. I think you could get a little bit more volatility going into this lower Bollinger Band here, and then I think you're going to bottom out. So again, we're trying to bottom out around this level of support. After the breakout, we had the rally, and now we've got more consolidation going on, but we've had major horizontal support here, VWAP support here with these lines right here. I've talked about this at great length and detail. Now, I told you this level was likely to hold. You break this level, that's bearish, very bearish. You bounce off this level, that's going to be very, very bullish, meaning the correction is coming to a conclusion. I think that's what's happening. At our January low, when I predicted that bottom, day of that bottom, predicting we'd rally down to the trend line I talked about, bounced there. S&P bounced that same day off the 2023 trend line. Both of them bounced off major trend lines. Both of them formed fake head and shoulder patterns. Both of them rallied surrounding Inauguration Day, as I predicted, a continuation of the election rally, and I think it's going to continue. And if you watch the video all the way through, you get rewarded. You get some very important information that the others will not see. Watch the video all the way through, and again, you'll have information that most people don't have. I'll show you some of my personal charts. And we bounced here off the VWAP support, horizontal support here in the blue, okay? Here we did it again, okay, coming back down, but we got the higher low as I've been predicting. I still think we're going to see the January low hold up, and this is probably the higher low. Right now, either we're trying to bounce here, and this is a bottom right here at the VWAP support, or we're going to go down just a little bit lower and test the support zone. It's possible we take this low out and move into the support zone and maybe tag this VWAP right here, but We could still get a higher low above this low right here, and I'll show you what I'm looking at. We're forming a bullish falling wedge. Now, as the deadline is passed with the hostages, so far we haven't seen any volatility. Bitcoin right now at the moment, Bitcoin is totally flat as I'm making the video. It's up $16, 0.02%. It's flat, okay? But if we do get more volatility, I'm going to be looking at this area right here, and this is what I'm concentrating on right here, this area of support. First of all, our support zone right here, and you got VWAP support right there, okay? And the horizontal support, that's the lower end of the horizontal support area here, and then you have the VWAP support right in here as well, going into that support zone. So if we violate these levels as we did here and here, again, maybe we come back towards this level here, but just above it as we did here and here. So again, looking at this, then we've got to be able to come back up, and now you have this VWAP resistance from the high, this first horizontal resistance, and then our peak there at 109 to be able to clear that resistance area. I think you got a good shot. You're going to try to bottom in this area here. Maybe we're doing that with this higher low right now. Maybe we go a little bit lower. There is some buying interest in this area. What is this line right here? If we go back, which I've been talking about, we're just holding above it here. If we go back, this is from higher low that's set up at the 100 period moving average not seen on this chart after we bottomed and got the higher low at 52,000. If I just bring it up here, you can see that we bottomed here at 49,000 in August, and we got the higher low in September at 52,000, and this was the higher low after we got that higher low at 52,000 after we bottomed out. That's the VWAP, anchored VWAP right there from that point. That's the area that I think is going to hold us support here at the support zone. Again, I think we have these 5 subwaves developing. Minor wave 5, I think minor wave 4 completed over here, and I think again the intermediate wave 4 completed here. We have these 5 intermediate waves, and we're now these 5 minor waves, and after completing intermediate wave 4, 5 minor waves, and I think that the 4th completed here. I think we're now into the 5th. I think we're establishing a higher low above the January low. A trend line right here, and I think we get a 5-leg push. This angle of ascent might change if we include the shadow here. Here I've excluded it. I'm looking at this low right here and this low right here. If we include the shadow altogether here, it might be a little bit of a different angle, less of a sharp angle higher. I'll be watching, but again, going back into that support zone. So let me just show you that trend line. But this is what I think is happening as far as the Elliott wave count, but the channel still may be under construction here. So let's take a look. What happens if we include the shadow here, the low over here from the higher low here at 52,000. We bounced off the 100 period there, and that's where we are right now, by the way. So again, we were just hovering in that neighborhood. If we include this shadow, the trend line's a little bit lower. It reaches the confluence of support. Let me just show you that. I'm going to zoom out here so you can just kind of see everything. But this trend line, look at this. This is the low here from 52,000. This is including the shadow right here, the whole shadow. And it's just lower. This is our log scaling as well, lower than this low right here. And again, but look where it's pointing up to. You have a confluence of support. You still have our horizontal support in this area right here. You have this rising trend line right here. You have potentially the lower boundary of the rising wedge coming in at this area right here. You have the support zone, the horizontal support zone coming in here and over here at the January low. Okay, and then you have the upper boundary of the bull flag also in that neighborhood. So you've got a confluence of support if we go just a little bit lower into this key support area. And if we do, or even if we don't, even if that's all she wrote, we really start to see things turn around, that's fine too. But if we do get another push down, you've got a confluence of support right in here, the trend line, the support zone here with the January low and our tariff sell-off low. The upper boundary here, the lower boundary of the bull flag. A lot of support right in here. I think that we're going to bounce. And if we do go pull back a little bit, I think you're going to see a bottom develop. I think Bitcoin is bottoming. Maybe it's done. Guess is we're still going to have a little bit more volatility. As I said in my last update, I'm looking for a Bitcoin bottom. It's in a bottoming process right now. So while Bitcoin is flat here on Saturday, I think we're going to test this area some more right in here, complete the bull flag and bounce off the confluence of support, and again maybe come down to test the support zone in here, and again establish a higher low just above this low right here, the tariff sell-off low, or maybe slightly take it out. But I think you're going to bottom in this area in all likelihood. I told you last update, again, we're seeing the buyers come in, beginning to come in over here, and we saw the buyers back over here in September, or at the January low, at this confluence of support that I think is building a base to take us higher. I think it's very important to note that with Friday's rally, that's this bar right here. Friday's rally, we rallied up, we got a low topping tail, we stalled. You see this little blue line right here? Coming in right at the trend line right here. Again, that's where we stalled. Let me fix my trend line. It moved on me here. These highs coming right up to this high, coming right up to the 20-period moving average, and we turned off that level. If we have more volatility, I'm looking at this area right in here. And we may see a higher low above this level as well, or this low may hold right here if we can try to break out of the bull flag. But right now, you could have more volatility and coming down into this area right in here. You don't have to do that. Again, we already got the sell-off low here, the higher low that I was looking for. But I'm just telling you, again, we might see more volatility as we try to carve out a base to complete a solid foundation to continue higher. Turning off that 20 period here in the daily time frame. The 10 is still below the 20. The 10 is a red line right there. So again, we'll be watching to see if we get now rejection at the 20 period and drop back below the 10 period. A little hard to see there, but again, do we come back down into this area or take it out and get another bottoming tail or something and hit that support zone or just above that support zone area? We're also stalling at the ribbon. The ribbon, we've come up to it, we've stalled there, and the trend line and the 20-period moving average. So again, we could have more of a testing of the support zone area here and then try to bottom out. Now again, we need to be able to clear this area and then be able to get above the cloud here to flip it back to green to resume the advance. So you have a bottoming process, and then I think we're going to make a move to do that. If we get another push down, then maybe we complete the bullish falling wedge. Maybe it's done with this low right here, and we see a breakout, and we try to clear this area. That's what I'm going to be watching. But I think you got maybe more work to be done. Again, the buyers, I think, are coming down in here at this area. We definitely saw it with the tariff sell-off lows. We stall here. There might be more work to be done. We still have bars reflecting bearish momentum being red, and we're getting rejection at the ribbon, which is red. So again, if we can clear that, momentum here would flip back to bullish, and then we can look on trying to flip the trend back to bullish. Stalling at the 20-period moving average, also stalling at the ribbon here. Also stalling at critical mass right here. Again, we'd have to be able to get above critical mass and flip it back to blue and turn it back to bullish. Maybe we do that if we try to break out, if we can establish this as another higher low, but there might be more work to be done as we're coming up and stalling at some of these resistance areas. Ribbon, the 20-period moving average, and here, critical mass on the daily time frame. When you key support, I've shown you resistance, and if we go back and test support, this is what I'm looking for. Now, again, Bitcoin is flat right now as we've just passed the hostage deadline. I don't know if that will be an issue. Not, it very well could be something else. But again, is what I'm going to be watching is, does this low right here hold as another higher low? Again, our support zone is right here, okay? And the buyer interest has been down here. You see the little bottoming tails and the bottoming tail over here and back at the January low. The buying interest is here and at our support zone here. The horizontal support, as I've been talking about. Rising up to the 20-period moving average and the trend line, I think we're going to probably pull back into this area right in here. Look where our 78.6 Fibonacci is. We've moved just beyond it right here. Maybe we get a higher low above the support zone and hit our 78.6 Fibonacci. Again, our confluence of support is here, but this lower boundary of the bullish falling wedge, could come into this area here. Just move slightly lower, moving down to test this low right here, moving down to test the low, the tariff sell-off low, which is the upper end of the support zone above the January low. Again, that's where I called that bottom. Then we hit the resistance area at 109. I told you we were going to pull back from that day, and guess what happened? We pulled back. Like I told you, we were going to sell off over here at the December high with our topping tail at the trend line of resistance in the weekly time frame. These trend lines have been absolutely amazing. I'm showing you one of the log scaling that would come in just a little bit lower. I don't have it drawn in on this chart, but I've shown you it in this video. I think there's that confluence of support right in here, and this is where the buyer interest is. I think we're going to get one more flush out, and I think that you're going to see Bitcoin bottom. I think it's in backtest mode of our bull flag. Here's our bull flag. You say, oh, we got a head and shoulders. And I said, it's evolved into a bull flag. That's why I predicted the January bottom at the trend line, because I thought we'd get the rally surrounding Inauguration Day, which we did. We peaked on Inauguration Day, and I told you we were going to get a pullback. We had an 8% rally that reversed. Now I'm looking for a bottom here. But we've made some absolutely amazing calls with the trend lines. Do we hit that other trend line one more time? This one was with our linear scaling. Do we hit that log scaling trend line I've been talking about in this video? It's a very interesting area to me, and even if we go beyond the 78.6 Fibonacci, again, just above this level or just slightly below it into the resistance zone, I think that we're getting a higher low above the January lows I continued to predict. I think it's probably in here, but maybe we test that. But again, I think you probably will get a higher low in all likelihood above this support zone, and then I think Bitcoin's going to go on its way and break out. Now, maybe we get the breakout immediately. My guess is we won't, but I am looking for a bottom. As I said in my last update, as I'm saying in this update, I think Bitcoin's in a bottoming process. Now, maybe that low is it. Maybe we come back and get a higher low and go. But again, I still think you could come down and still move closer to this level. We'll see if it happens, and we'll see if we get a little bit more volatility with this topping tail off the 20 period. If we do, I think we'll complete this bullish falling wedge for the breakout and the pullback. One other thing here, I think that will reach this lower Bollinger Band. A little hard to see, but that lower Bollinger Band is right there at that lower trend line. Let me just move this stuff so you can see here. The lower Bollinger Band is right there, and again, we could just come down and pierce through it, and again, hold above this support zone of the low here from the tariff sell-off low and the January low again, or even slightly violate that, but again, possibly breach that lower Bollinger Band and then try to form a bottom. We'll be watching, or just tag it. Again, we've not quite reached it here with our low. Maybe we do. Maybe we tag it, and then that's the end of it. But a really nice breach of the lower Bollinger Band at the January low there. Maybe we see the same thing here. We did breach it here, but then push back above it and got this bigger sell-off. That low is holding from the tariff sell-off low. And again, that's where our 78.6 Fibonacci is, just above, I should say right at, that lower Bollinger Band area. So again, maybe we breach that level just a bit for a test or tag it. Just food for thought. I'm looking for a Bitcoin bottom. And maybe we move closer to this 20-week moving average here that I've been talking about, but hit this confluence of support. And where that confluence of support is, right there, right underneath it, here is our 20-week moving average. Bitcoin follows the 20-week moving average. Now, I just want to show you some of my own personal charts here, what I'm looking at. Again, we have a confluence of support here. Okay, we have a confluence of support. This is the Bitcoin weekly chart. If we bottom out with the bullish falling wedge in the daily time frame, back testing the bull flag in the daily time frame, and we bounce here after this period of consolidation, we could see something that looks like, after this consolidation here, something that looks like that, or after this consolidation, something less aggressive, but still a move like this off of that bottoming tail. Let me just get that in there better. After that bottoming tail, something that looks like that for several weeks going up into our trend line. Now, I believe that we are in intermediate wave 5. I think intermediate wave 4 completed here with the bull flag, and I think we're in intermediate wave 5, and we have 1, 2, 52,000 was 2, 3, 4. 3 was the December peak, and then 4 was our sell-off here to the January low. And now I think that, again, we're in intermediate wave 5. If that low can hold, if we're not, then intermediate wave 4, that minor wave 4. Hopefully I didn't just mess that up. The intermediate wave is 1, 2, 3, 4. Intermediate wave 4. These are minor waves, so if I messed that up a moment ago, I'm sorry. Got it right, then that was correct. But the 5 minor waves we're in right now, minor wave 5, I think is in this larger intermediate wave 5, and I think that it's going to move towards this trend line up here. Now, I've drawn this trend line. I've shown you this over and over from the lows over here, the black trend line, and if we slightly exclude the shadows here and draw a parallel boundary from the high here and black line going up, just slightly excluding the shadow here, again, it's directly overhead in this area. That could take us on into March or on into April if we take our time trying to reach that area. If we reach it again sooner, then we can reach that trend line. Bitcoin will be at lower prices. So that's the channel I've been talking about. There's another channel I'm looking at, and I've been examining this, and that is from the lows here, and that is this blue trend line from the lows right here connected to the lows over here from 49,000 and 52,000. Interesting. And then if we draw a parallel boundary from the peak over here, well, it's pointing up over here just a little bit higher. So 2 channels I've been looking at and examining. I want to show you this other channel because I've been looking at it and examining it closely over the last week or two here, just really thinking about it and pondering it. My personal charts, and I've highlighted that area here, the blue channel, so you can see that if we do go higher, we might go up into that upper channel line right there, which is parallel to the lower boundary here. So just another channel to be aware of. Channels often expand. What happens here? I don't know that we reach that level, but it's something I want to be aware of because I do think we're going to at least this level right here. Trend line is my target, but if we overthrow that level, you want to be aware of this other channel. It's something I've really been looking at and paying attention to because I do know that channels can expand. If we push up into this area, we have also Fibonacci expansions up in this area for both of those areas. It could reach, and this upper boundary right here, this red line, it could rise to higher levels. We may not reach that level. We did over here. We're going parabolic. Over here in 2021, we overthrew that level, and then when we closed that marked the peak over here, we never did get back to it over here, but we went slightly higher. Here, we've tagged it, went above it, and again, we may just get a lower high below it like we did over here, but it is possible we try to tag that level at some point. There's 2 trend lines I'm watching, and currently, again, this will rise, this line will rise, red line, but the blue line is that upper boundary of this potential channel. So just some things to be aware of. Again, I'm going to be looking for the 5 subwaves to complete, which I think that right now we've completed the intermediate, the minor wave 4. There we go again, minor wave 4 right here. And I think we now have these 5 subwaves in minor wave 5. And I think we're getting the wave 2 completing right there of the subwave. I think we'll get 3, 4, and 5, or maybe more aggressive in trying to go towards that area. We'll be watching to see how it unfolds. But a confluence of support here with the completing, I believe, of minor wave 4, possibly our higher low as we're getting the subwave 2 for minor wave 5. I don't know that we reached that red line right here, and this other channel. I don't know that we go that high because, again, there's resistance below that. And again, we tagged the boundary here of the red line here, and we may just get fall short of it like we did over here. So my original trend line might be a more realistic target based on a confluence of resistance. And I hope you appreciate, I'm showing you support levels and resistance levels. I showed you resistance at the 20 period and on the daily chart and the trend line, and I'm showing you this longer term resistance of where we're likely headed with Bitcoin. I don't know if this is an unrealistic target right here, because at this trend line, the black trend line, there is a confluence of resistance. Let me just show you what I mean here. First of all, I'm looking at this larger channel. This is the longer term weekly chart, and again, this is going back to the lows over here in 2019 and 2020 here. Pandemic sell-off and the lows of the bear market there after the 2017 peak and the sell-off in 2018. If we look at that and we draw a trend line right here, and then we draw a parallel boundary up here, and obviously I have excluded the shadow here. If we just included a parallel boundary, it's really with the confluence of resistance with this upper channel that I originally drew and our Fibonacci expansions from the previous advance. And there's a beautiful confluence of resistance, but I just want you to see this channel that I'm looking at again. And this is, by the way, when we peak, this is where I think we're going. This down here, I think we're going to go take out 15,000, and we're headed down here, and then I think you'll bottom there in a bear market there, because Bitcoin, I think we'll have an inflation freakout. Bitcoin will begin to price in the coming recession that the Fed's telling us we're not going to have, but I believe the recession indicators, they're telling us we're going to have one. Believe them. Look at the larger channel. Look at my smaller channel in this larger channel. Look at these beautiful channels that I've drawn in here. Bitcoin makes the most beautiful channels in the world. I really, really like the channels on Bitcoin. Like I said, that other channel, it may expand, and channels can expand, but I don't know that I think Bitcoin will do that, because I think this channel is likely. I just want to take the time to show you this. Now look at this channel. This channel's pointing up here, and it is, if we include the shadow over here from the first peak in 2021, that larger channel we just looked at, again, they're intersecting here at just a little bit higher level here. And again, may even overthrow this larger channel and reach that upper boundary, just slightly move above it there. They intersect here, and then and if we take our time reaching it, again, probably going into April, then we overthrow this black line upper boundary and reach this one, or maybe we reach it sooner where they intersect. We'll see what happens. But again, the Fibonacci expansions from the previous peak right here around this area is our Fibonacci 1.786 expansion right there. Now, if we go higher, we can get a 1 to 2, which would be up here. That might get us closer to that other level, or even beyond the 2 1 to 2 Fibonacci expansion. I don't know that we reached that other channel that I've been examining and looking at. Again, my original channel may be very well for price stalls in this area. I do think we're going higher. I do think Bitcoin is going to bottom out here. Probably already has with that bottoming tail from the tariff sell-off low, and we're now just getting a higher low with the bullish falling wedge. Back testing the bull flag. Everybody told us, oh, no, it's a head and shoulders. So again, I remain bullish on the weekly time frame here. I think we're going up into this area where I think Bitcoin's going to top, and then I think the bottom is going to fall out of Bitcoin. We move towards recession, but I think you're going to see the tariffs hit, inflation data continue to rise, and there's going to be an inflation freak out. We're going to see Bitcoin drop, and then the Fed come in and cut rates, and the market's going to celebrate and say it's all over, and we're going to get a counter trend, a Fibonacci retracement on Bitcoin after a significant drop. When it peaked in 2021 over here, it dropped by 52% before rebounding and getting a Fibonacci retracement. So again, we could see something like that. We could see Bitcoin get a pretty dramatic drop, getting a big haircut like we did over here, and then the Fed comes in and we'll see a trend rally. But again, over here I've marked where we're going to have this recession over here. Hang on, my channel moved on me when I zoomed in here. And again, I think you're going to move into your bear market on into 2026, where I think you're going to come back to the low end of this trend line, take out this low, and then I think Bitcoin will bottom there and complete the bear market. I remain bullish. I think we get a blow off top up at this area. Our Fibonacci extensions, the upper boundary of the larger channel, the upper boundary of this channel, in all likelihood, I see a confluence of resistance up in here. 78.6 Fibonacci is at 135,900. So say 136,000 is our 78.6 Fibonacci. Our 61.8 Fibonacci is at 120, just under 125,000. I think you'll likely see a peak somewhere in that neighborhood, depending on when we come into contact with this trend line right here. But again, because we're still going sideways, I talked about the 125,000 area, we're probably going to exceed it now. Again, the trend line is my target, not a number, but we're probably going to exceed it because we're taking our time reaching it. So again, we might get closer to the 78.6 Fibonacci at 136,000, just under 136,000. Very, very possible. I think that'll complete the blow off top, and when we get there, everybody's going to say, oh no, it's going to keep going, it's going to get, and Bitcoin will likely peak at this trend line that I continue to say is my target. Signals in the weekly time frame remain bullish. I remain bullish on Bitcoin. I think we're pulling back. We get a January bottom. I think we're establishing the higher low. That already with the tariffs. I think we're testing it. I think it's off to the races. That's what I think is going to happen. Please support the channel with the link directly below. It allows me to be able to provide you this information. YouTube channels make their money by sponsors. Contact me all the time. I turn them down. I don't want to send you to an exchange that gets you all leveraged up to wipe you out. Some of these other websites that offer shady deals. So I just ask that you partner with me, but I need to hear from you in order to make it work. If you like my charts, you like my indicators, you like this information, I need to hear from you. Let me know that. It takes a lot of time and effort to do this. These are the charts I'm looking at every day, and I'm just sharing them with you. If you like that kind of information, take a moment and support the channel. Let me know that. I need to hear from you. I need to know that you want me to do this. I need to know you want this information and that you like this information. The bulls are now getting another opportunity to accumulate Bitcoin. I'm going to show you my private charts, like this one right here, talking about this shortly. Take a moment to support the channel. I would really appreciate it. Follow the link below. It'll take you to a secured site, and you could donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. If you do that, I thank you. It would really be encouraging to hear from you. If you could take a moment to respond, I would really, really appreciate that. Just do what you can to help out. Bitcoin's in a bottoming process right now. It's going to go higher. Talking about this chart and my target levels shortly. If you want to see some amazing charts, watch the video all the way through. I'm going to show you some of my personal charts. This one right here. And I've shown you this a couple of times. Watch the video all the way through. You need this information. Bitcoin's in a bottoming process right now. It's going to rally higher, and it's going to top, and it's going to tank hard. We are likely just weeks away from a peak on Bitcoin. We've gone sideways since the election. Just after the election rally to the December top, we rallied ahead of the election, but we've been going sideways since November in this range up here. I'll be talking more about that.